No epidurals, no hospitals, no doctors, no pain relief, not even a clean floor. Just raw wilderness, unbearable pain, and one terrifying question. Will she survive this? Because here's the brutal truth that nobody talks about. Childbirth was not just painful for prehistoric women. It was the single most likely way they would die. More deadly than mammoth attacks. More deadly than starvation. More deadly than rival tribes. And yet, somehow, billions of ancient women faced this moment. Alone, terrified, with nothing but their bare hands and the women beside them, and they won. Generation after generation after generation for 200 to 3,000 years. So, what exactly happened when a prehistoric woman went into labor? Buckle up, because this story will completely change how you think about modern medicine, motherhood, and the most dangerous 9 months any human being has ever lived through. Let's set the scene first, because you need to understand just how brutal this world was. We are talking about Homo sapiens, our direct ancestors, living 50,000 to 200,000 years ago. No hospitals, no trained midwives, no surgical tools, no antibiotics, no blood transfusions, no clean rooms, no painkillers, nothing. These women gave birth wherever they happened to be when labor started, in damp caves, in open fields, on rocky riverbanks, in freezing winters, in the middle of a migration, sometimes get terrifyingly, while predators were nearby. Labor did not wait. It never waited. And when it came, that woman had no choice but to face the most painful experience in human biology while the wilderness tried to kill her at the same time. Now, here is something fascinating. How did ancient women even know they were pregnant? No pregnancy tests, no ultrasounds, no doctors, just their own bodies. And here's the thing. Prehistoric women had an extraordinary connection to their own physical signals that modern humans have almost completely lost. Missed periods were the first clue, but ancient women actually had far fewer periods than modern women because they were almost constantly either pregnant or breastfeeding throughout their entire adult lives. Other signals were nausea, fatigue, swollen breasts, and changes in appetite. But ancient women went further than just reading their own bodies. Archaeological evidence shows they had extensive knowledge of medicinal plants, specific herbs that confirmed pregnancy, eased morning sickness, and in extreme cases even terminated dangerous pregnancies. Nature was their pharmacy, and they had spent generations learning exactly how to use it. These women were not primitive. They were brilliant. But here's the question that changes everything. Why is human childbirth so much more dangerous and painful than every other primate on Earth? A chimpanzee gives birth quickly, quietly, often completely alone in a tree. Minimal complications, done in hours. So why do human women suffer so much more? 2 words, big brains. As human intelligence evolved over millions of years, our skulls got bigger to hold larger brains. But the female pelvis, the opening a baby must pass through, had a hard limit. Make it too wide and walking upright on 2 legs becomes biomechanically impossible, so evolution made a brutal compromise. Human babies are born earlier, much earlier, in their development than any other primate, before their skulls fully harden, while their heads are still just small enough to twist and rotate through the birth canal in a complex internal maneuver no other animal performs. This is why a baby giraffe walks within hours of birth. A human infant cannot even lift its own head for months. We arrive in the world essentially premature, half finished, because our brains are simply too large to stay inside any longer without killing the mother. This evolutionary tightrope made prehistoric childbirth genuinely deadly. Anthropologists estimate that between 5 and 10% of prehistoric women died during delivery. Every single pregnancy was a real possibility of death, and every woman who became pregnant knew it. So who helped? Because here's where the story shifts from terrifying to genuinely beautiful. Ancient humans were deeply communal, and childbirth was never a solo event. When a prehistoric woman went into labor, the sisterhood gathered, experienced older women, grandmothers, aunts, mothers who had survived their own births. They became primitive midwives, not because anyone trained them formally, but because they had watched dozens of births and accumulated generations of inherited wisdom. They knew which positions worked: squatting, kneeling, using gravity instead of fighting it. They knew how to manually turn a baby positioned incorrectly inside the womb, a technique that saves lives even in modern obstetrics today. They knew Which plants stopped postpartum hemorrhage? Which herbs reduced the intensity of contractions? Which actions prevented infection? This was not random guessing. This was thousands of years of accumulated female wisdom, passed from mother to daughter, forming an invisible safety net that kept the human species alive. Without it, we would not be here. And speaking of pain management, because prehistoric women were absolutely not just suffering without any relief. They were extraordinary herbalists. Willow bark was chewed during contractions, and willow bark contained salicin, the exact natural compound that modern aspirin is chemically derived from. Certain psychoactive mushrooms were used in some populations to alter consciousness during the worst contractions. Hot rocks wrapped in animal skin were pressed against the lower back to ease muscle pain, exactly what modern heating pads do today, and perhaps most surprisingly, water births. Prehistoric women gave birth in warm, shallow rivers and pools, instinctively discovering what modern hospitals are only now reintroducing as a method that significantly reduces labor, complications, and pain. Ancient women figured this out 50,000 years ago, without a single clinical trial. But surviving the birth was only half the battle, because the moment that baby arrived, a new set of deadly threats began. Infection was the invisible killer. Without sterile equipment, while an umbilical cord was a direct entry point for fatal bacteria. Ancient mothers instinctively cleaned newborns immediately, wiping them with specific leaves, rinsing with clean water, sometimes licking them clean in exactly the same way other mammals do. Breastfeeding began within minutes, not hours, because colostrum, the first milk produced after birth, is absolutely packed with antibodies that gave newborns their only defense against infection. Ancient mothers somehow understood this instinctively. The immediate skin-to-skin contact, the immediate feeding, these were not cultural choices. They were survival strategies hardwired into maternal instinct over millions of years of brutal evolutionary pressure. And on the darkest end of the spectrum, if a baby was born with severe complications during a period of extreme famine, tribes sometimes made the devastating choice of infanticide. By modern standards, this sounds unthinkable, but in a world of absolute scarcity, where one compromised infant could drain resources from the entire group and kill everyone, these were impossible decisions made by people in impossible circumstances, not monsters, survivors. Here's the part that will stay with you. A prehistoric woman who survived multiple childbirths was not just respected. She was legendary. She had looked death in the face 4, 5, 6 times and walked away. Grandmothers who had survived multiple births and now guided younger women through their own. These were the most valuable human beings in any prehistoric group. Their knowledge was irreplaceable. Their experience was irreplaceable. Their presence at a birth could mean the difference between life and death. Evolutionary biologists call this the grandmother effect, and it is considered one of the primary reasons that human females live so long past their reproductive years compared to virtually every other animal on Earth. Grandmothers exist, evolutionarily speaking, because their presence kept babies alive, and kept mothers alive, and kept the entire human species moving forward. So let's come back to where we started. No epidurals, no hospitals, no doctors, no pain relief, just raw courage, inherited wisdom, and the most powerful biological drive in nature. Every single human being alive today, all 8 billion of us, exists because somewhere, 50,000 years ago, a prehistoric woman went into labor in a cave or beside a wild river. She was terrified. She was in agony. She had no guarantees, and she did it anyway. That woman is your ancestor. Her courage is literally written into your DNA. Next time someone tells you that modern life is hard, remember her. If this blew your mind, smash that like button right now and drop a comment below. Do you think modern women are stronger or weaker than these ancient women? I'll see you in the next one.